Dennis Rodman was one of the strangest and most unique NBA players of all time, but he was one of the most skilled defenders and rebounders in NBA history, averaging over 18 rebounds per game one season. He has had and still has a lot of off-court issues, but that didn't stop him from becoming an NBA Hall of Famer. We're going to be looking at where he is now, but first we're going to take a quick look at his life and his career, and hopefully find out some interesting things you might not have known about what led him to where he is today. Dennis Rodman was born in 1961, and he said that his father left his family when he was 5 years old. He says now that his dad went on to have 47 children in the Philippines. He grew up with two sisters and without a father, and it's said that his mother was never a great mom, which led him to being a shy kid in school. In high school, two people in Dennis Rodman's family won 3 state championships for basketball, but neither of them were Dennis. They were his two sisters. Dennis Rodman was actually so bad in high school that he said he couldn't even hit a layup. He was 5'6" as a freshman and couldn't make the basketball or the football team. And when he did, he'd spend most of his time on the bench, and eventually graduated and became an overnight janitor at an airport. Out of nowhere, at 19 years old, he went from being 5'9" to 6'7" inches, so now he tried basketball again. He dominated in a small college, averaging 25 points and 15 rebounds a game. Then he attended a pre-draft NBA camp and was named MVP. There's a lot to cover on Rodman's life after basketball, so I'll sum up his career pretty quickly. Due to his performance in the pre-draft NBA camp, he'd go on to be taken with the 3rd pick in the 2nd round of the 1986 NBA draft by the Detroit Pistons. During his time on the Pistons, he would help them win 2 NBA championships, become an elite rebounder and defender, say Larry Bird was only popular because he was white, win the Defensive Player Award twice, be the rebounding leader twice, averaging almost 19 rebounds a game one season, and be a 2-time All-Star. He'd also tried to commit suicide several times, but one story sticks out the most of when he had a gun in hand, ready to pull the trigger. But luckily, he was stopped and talked out of it by Craig Sager. He'd go on to be traded to the Spurs in 1993, then the Bulls in 1995, where he'd win 3 more NBA championships and lead the league for his 7th straight year in rebounds. He'd get fined several times throughout his time on the Bulls for headbutting referees, leaving his team during practices in the finals to wrestle Hulk Hogan, kicking a cameraman in the groin, and he'd also date Madonna and wear a wedding dress and come out as bisexual to promote his first book, Bad As I Wanna Be. Off the court, he would wrestle in WCW as part of the NWO. He'd have matches with The Big Show, Lex Luger, and even Karl Malone. After Michael Jordan retired, most of the Bulls left the team too, including Dennis Rodman in 1999. He played 23 games for the Lakers, then played for the Dallas Mavericks. On the Mavs, he'd only played 12 games, and in those 12 games, he got 6 technical fouls, was ejected twice, and was suspended 1 game. Steve Nash, who was the Mavs point guard at the time, said Rodman never wanted to be a Maverick and wasn't motivated. So that was the last time he was ever seen on an NBA court. So where is he now? Well, after Rodman was waived by the Mavericks, he wanted to take a long break from basketball to concentrate on his wrestling and his film career. In 2002, it was reported that police had been called to Rodman's house over 70 times because of loud parties. A year after that, in 2003, Rodman was arrested and charged with domestic violence for assaulting his then fiancée. Later that year, 3 years after he left the NBA, he finally returned to basketball and played for the Long Beach Jam of the ABA. His goal was at 42 years old to be called up to the NBA at some point during the season, which obviously never happened. But his team won the ABA championship that season, and until 2006, he would go on to play games in China, Mexico, Finland, the UK, and the Philippines. In 2005, Rodman posed naked for PETA's Rather Go Naked Than Wear Fur campaign, published his 2nd book, I Should Be Dead By Now, and became the commissioner of the Lingerie Football League. In 2008, Dennis Rodman came out of retirement to wrestle in a Hulk Hogan Celebrity Championship Wrestling tournament, which he won. That same year, he was arrested once again and charged with domestic violence. From around 2008 to 2014, Rodman's been in and out of rehab for alcohol abuse. Within this time, his financial advisor even said, in all honesty, Dennis, although a very sweet person, is an alcoholic. His sickness impacts his ability to get work. Although he may have had a problem with alcohol, his number 10 jersey was still retired by the Pistons on April 1st, 2011. and a few months later, he would be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. He was welcomed by his former coach and mentor, Phil Jackson, and gave an emotional speech thanking all the people who had helped him stay alive and make it through his career. He also spoke badly about his dad, who wrote a book about Dennis after his career, but still never came in contact with him since he was a child. And he roasted his mom to her face while she was in attendance. It seemed like he was going in a sweet direction when he brought up his mom, but then he said how he wished he had been a better father and husband to his wife and kids, then said how he was a bad son, but only because his mom never loved him. In 2013 is when things got interesting for Dennis, because in February 2013, he made his first trip to North Korea to host a basketball exhibition game, where he would meet America's public enemy #1, Kim Jong-un. Kim is a huge fan of basketball, so that led to Rodman and his group being the first group of Americans to meet Kim Jong-un. That day, Rodman said they became friends for life. From that point on, he tried to get Barack Obama to call Kim so they could talk about basketball, which never happened. Soon after that, there was an American prisoner named Kenneth Bae who had been sentenced to 15 years of hard labor in North Korea. Dennis Rodman tweeted and asked Kim Jong-un to release him, and he actually did it the next year. In July of 2015, Rodman said that it was his mission to help mend the relationship between America and North Korea. So he continuously tried to convince Obama to reach out to Kim. Over the next few months, Dennis Rodman would continue to fly to North Korea and train the North Korean national basketball team, and bring over some former NBA players for an exhibition tour. He brought Kenny Anderson, Cliff Robinson, Vin Baker, Craig Hodges, Doug Christie, Sleepy Floyd, Charles D. Smith, and some street ball players. The basketball went good, but the rest of his stay did not. Korean officials reported that his entire week there he had been drunk, destroying things, and on his last day he threw up everywhere, peed, and took multiple dumps in the hotel hallways before passing out. So he returned to rehab when he got home. It got worse from there though, because in an interview with CNN about his trips to North Korea, Rodman said that he believed it was Kenneth's fault that he was imprisoned in North Korea. He was highly criticized and looked down upon by Congress and the NBA because they thought he was asked to say that by the North Korean government. So he apologized to everyone 2 days later. After the interview, Dennis would return to North Korea, bringing Kim Jong-un thousands of dollars worth of gifts, which led to him being investigated by the US Department of Treasury to determine if that was breaking some sort of law, which it wasn't, since Rodman's been a big supporter of Donald Trump over the years. Stemming from when he was back on The Celebrity Apprentice, he endorsed Trump during his 2016 campaign. Now today, Rodman's in a really unique spot because he's the only man on the planet that's friends with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and Kim Jong-un. So in his most recent return to North Korea, in June 2017, Rodman tried to help the relationship with the United States and bring peace and open the doors for a better relationship. While he was there, he continued to bring basketball to North Korea. He dropped off some signed jerseys, a set of soap, and a copy of Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, to Kim Jong-un. But before he actually left to go to North Korea that time, Dennis and his agent may have played a part in getting another American prisoner set free, Otto Warmbier. Otto was a college student who was sentenced to 15 years of hard work in North Korea for stealing a propaganda poster. Dennis Rodman's agent said that he had asked North Korean officials 3 times on behalf of Rodman if they would release him. This might not have been the direct cause of his release, but Otto was released on the same day that Rodman was in North Korea. When speaking about his trips to North Korea, he said he didn't know if Donald Trump was aware that he was still taking trips there, but he thought Trump would be happy that he was trying to make a difference. US officials have said that they don't know how to feel about his trips there because they've made travel bans for a reason, because it's unsafe. Dennis Rodman said he enjoys trying to make a difference, but when people criticized him for failing to use his connections properly, he said he doesn't care, because he feels that just as an athlete and celebrity, he would like to make a difference, but it's not his job to fix political problems.